Hey everybody, David Swor here once again with DJ Cox for another episode of Frenemies. And tonight, DJ, we have a special guest, Mr. Andrew Green, live from, is it Missouri? Is that right?
From where?
Where you at?
Marble Hill, Missouri.
Okay, that's what I said. I thought I had that right. So, being from Missouri, he grew up a Cardinals fan. And so we're going to be talking some Cardinals baseball today. So, Andrew, why don't you start us off and give us a little 2020 review of the Cardinals season?
Oh, it was really terrible, to be honest with you. They were basically 500. They went 30-28 in the shortened season, and they were second place in a really bad division.
Second place to who, Andrew? Second place to who?
I don't think I looked. Did Chicago win it?
Of course.
Of course.
Well, I tried it. When I see Chicago, I kind of blot it out of my mind. So, yeah. I thought maybe Milwaukee might have, but, anyway.
That's this year.
Anyway, but, it was Jordan Hicks didn't even play, their closer. They had to scramble in their bullpen for a closer. And from July 31st to August 13th, they didn't even play any games because of COVID. They canceled like 4 or 5 series in a row, and they ended up 30-28, 500 record, and they still managed to make the playoffs in the expanded, but lost the first round to the Padres. Yeah. So it wasn't the greatest. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I even watched hardly any games last year. It was, I don't know, I just couldn't get my heart into it. But anyway, there was an interesting note that I found last night that on August 13th, because of the COVID outbreaks on the team, they didn't want them to be close together. So the Cardinals rented 41 cars and drove to Chicago.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Every player drove separately to Chicago.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, I don't think that'll ever happen again.
On this COVID ridiculousness, so I coach basketball. We had a game tonight, and it was my first experience with the social distance bench. It's basketball season. It's March Madness going on right now. Can we just pause right there real quick and just say how stupid that it is? In high school basketball here, there's no tip-off due to COVID.
Oh, my gosh.
And we got the social distance bench. Like, we didn't just ride here in the same bus, okay? Anyway, and you're playing basketball, you're running, you're all over each other or whatever. And then at the end of the game, we can't shake hands.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what you guys are dealing with, but it is the dumbest thing literally that I've ever heard of. It just blows my mind. Today we went to a place and we didn't bring basketballs, and they had to go get basketballs from a different set of basketballs than the ones that they normally use because we were going to touch them. So anyway, I'll get off of that right now, but the Cardinals really had a tough time with the COVID thing. DJ was mad, so mad all year towards the end, Andrew, because the Cardinals were getting in the playoffs and not having to play all their games. He's still mad. Look at him over there. So, DJ, why don't you give us a little bit of your probably wrong insight on the Cardinals?
So here's the big problem I have with this, Andrew, that they played 2 games short of what they should have played for the season. They didn't play their 60. They played 58 games. Now, here's the problem, though. They needed to play those 2 games with the Tigers to determine who had a higher seed between them and the Reds. And they just automatically said, well, okay, the Reds played 60 and the Cardinals played 58. Well, let's not make them play the last 2 games. Why don't we just give the Cardinals a higher seed? Reds, you get the 7 seed. You get the Braves. So it's like, oh, that's real fair. Yeah, let's just make that happen. Sure, that makes total sense. Let's not make them finish.
They both lost, DJ. They were both out anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it really mattered, to be honest with you.
Well, then
then
maybe the Cubs wouldn't have met the Marlins in the first round, and then maybe the Cubs would have advanced. Come on, all this stupid stuff.
If you get a softball like the Marlins, I mean, come on. You should have been happy as a Cubs fan.
Oh, that still makes me mad. But yeah, 2-1 to the Padres. They lost in one of the more entertaining series in the playoffs, to be honest with you. Game 1, the Cardinals won behind Giovanni Gallegos, 7-4. The Cardinals roughed up Chris Paddock for 6 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. Goldie and Carpenter had 2 RBI. But then game 2, they got into a shootout and lost it 11-9 against the Padres. That was a tough one. That was back and forth. Wainwright gave up 2 and 3 1/3 and was out. And then they used 7 relievers after that, and it just didn't work out. Colton Wong did have 4 RBI in that game in a losing effort. And game 3, the Cardinals only had 4 total hits. Flaherty gassed out after only 1 run in 6.2 innings pitched. The offense just fell apart. Flaherty couldn't last anymore. The Padres used 9 pitchers in that game and shut them down somehow, which is crazy. You used 9 pitchers in game 3, and we saw that a lot in the playoffs there in the wild card round. The Cardinals were 22nd in batting average last year, 26th in OPS, 28th in runs scored. So their offense struggled mightily, and they were dead last in home runs, and not a single guy on their team had over 7 home runs. Paul Goldschmidt included in that. That's crazy to me to think that. 9th in ERA and whip for the starting pitching. So they were pretty good starting pitching wise. The bullpen was 10th in ERA and 8th in whip. They were 1-3 versus the Twins, 6-4 versus the Pirates and the Reds, and they should have, been forced to play that 2 games at the end there. So I'll get off my rant about that. But here's the thing, guys. From July 29th to August 15th, they played.
Yeah.
Does something with those? Come on, DJ.
No, I'll try to look him up and see him. That'd be great. We got a lot of mutual friends just here in the state. So yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, DJ. Where we lost you?
Yeah, I'm good. I think. Let me see.
He was telling me how bad the car.
Yeah, so they should have been forced to play those 2 games against the Tigers. But, man, they had so many 7-inning doubleheader games, guys. It was unbelievable to see their schedule. I don't know how you go through that, playing 14 innings, that many times. Just had to wear on them a little bit. To their credit, they got a winning record playing that many doubleheaders. But I'm not going to give them too much credit because they were out in the first round. So it was a tough year for them, no doubt, on and off the field. Pretty crazy, obviously. Hopefully nobody has to go through all that stupid stuff this year. We can actually play 162 games for everybody.
So, kind of weird season. What was really crazy to me, the offense, the outfield offense in particular, was terrible. Their leader in batting average in the outfield was Dexter Fowler at 233. Oh. No home runs out there, although O'Neill did win a Gold Glove, which was pretty cool. And from what I understand, he's a pretty beef guy, but he hit 173 last year. So let's talk about the offseason a little bit. Let's be honest here, guys. The Cardinals really did nothing they did something. They did nothing to help with that outfield. And one thing I didn't realize, they had both Ozuna and Randy Arozarena 2 years ago, which is pretty crazy. That would have helped in that outfield. So, DJ, why don't you run through the additions and subtractions from this offseason?
Yeah, so the key additions is very very small on this. You don't see a list like this. Yeah. It's very small. They didn't do anything up until the Arenado trade, and they were just kind of staying put. They were just trying to get Yachty and Wainwright back in the fold, which they did. So I guess you can say that those are additions. I guess you could say it's just the guys that they kept. But Tyler Heineman, catcher from the Giants, Matt Caesar, former Cub, still hanging around, Garrett Williams from the Angels, starting pitcher. And that is it, guys, as far as additions go, except for the big one, obviously. And this is obviously a really big one in Nolan Arenado, where they just basically said, hey, Rockies, here's you guys want some baseballs and some seeds? Here you go. Give us the best player, third baseman in the game. So completely robbed the Rockies blind in that trade. I still don't know what the Rockies are doing. That GM deserves to be fired. He's terrible. What an awful job he's done with that organization. They are headed nowhere but disaster. But this is a Cardinals podcast, so I'll give back on them. That was a great trade. Unbelievable. They now have one of, if not the best players in the division with Yelich and Goldschmidt. I'd take those guys above almost everybody in the division, except for all the Cubs players. But no, Nolan Arenado, outstanding. Great offseason. So if you get Arenado in your offseason, it's got to be it changes everything, gives you a better grade. Now they have two cornerstone guys to build off of in Goldschmidt and Arenado.
I've got to pump it a little bit. I got to be devil's advocate. So I like Arenado. Defensively, he's awesome. And Andrew, I want you to comment on this. I want to hear your opinion on this. Arenado has some pretty pronounced non-Colorado splits or Colorado splits, however you want to say that. How do you think that offense is going to translate? And by the way, he only had 8 homers last year. So he would have led the team with 8 homers. So, Andrew, what do you think about the Arenado trade?
Well, I'm pretty excited about it, especially when the Cardinals didn't want to do anything all year. That's the one thing about our GM that drives me nuts is he just sits and doesn't do anything. And I don't know. He has all this money sitting on and doesn't do anything with it. He didn't have the greatest season last year, and he has not had the greatest spring training this year either. He has not hit well in spring training. I'm hoping he's in a funk that he'll pull out of, but he's a 5-time All-Star, 8 Gold Gloves, 4-time Silver Slugger Award. I mean, the talent's there. You know, is he going to pull out? Is he going to hit the ball? You know, but on the other hand, you know, he's going to be batting behind Paul Goldschmidt, which will mean more pitches for him, more ability for him to get on base, hit the ball.
So, DJ, I'm going to ask you the same question. If you were a Cardinal fan, would you be worried about the splits that Arenado has and the fact that he's kind of struggling in spring training a little bit?
Yeah, you know, I would a little bit. I'm just being honest with you. When you hit in Colorado for so long, that's obviously a hitter's paradise, just to be honest, because when you go to hit in Colorado, that's thin air. You hit the ball farther. You hit the ball harder. It's just proven fact. And you go to a place like St. Louis where it's a lot different as far as the atmosphere goes. It's 100 degrees there a lot of times. You know, it's a whole different animal as far as everything goes. So, yeah, it would be a little bit. But to be honest with you, this guy's still, to me, one of the best third basemen in the game. I think he's going to be fine, no doubt. I would think that Arenado would be the least of my worries as far as this goes. And I think, to be honest with you, David, too, I know they didn't get much this offseason and they really didn't help their team a ton. But getting Arenado this year, now I believe that they can take more steps in the future with a few cornerstones in Goldschmidt and Arenado. So it made sense to me. It was a good move. They would have had a complete F if they didn't make the Arenado trade for as far as their offseason goes, but they totally turned it around and did a good job. So
I'm going to give him a C in the offseason. I really would like to see him repair that outfit a little bit. But like I said, anytime you can come out with Arenado, pretty good offseason. So talk real quick, DJ, about their subtractions. They had a couple guys go out.
Yeah, so Colton Wong, I think, is the biggest one for them. He was on base at 350 last year, won a Gold Glove award. Tommy Edman is a downgrade at second base, let's just be honest. So this is a big loss for the Redbirds. They no doubt will feel the pain that his glove isn't there, that his on-base percentage isn't there anymore. So I think Colton Wong is a big loss. They also lost Dexter Fowler to the Angels, Brad Miller to the Phillies. Matt Wieters is a free agent, Max Schrock to the Reds, Austin Gomber to the Rockies. That was a trade they made. Ricardo Sanchez is a free agent. And that's pretty much it as far as everybody else that they lost. So not too much. They didn't lose a ton. I obviously think Wong was the big one there. So what do you think, David?
Yeah, Wong would be a big loss. And, again, I have to wonder with the offensive struggles that they had last year, how bad that's actually going to hurt. I mean, you added Arenado, that's great. But like you said, Edman's probably a little bit of a step back. What do you think, Andrew?
Oh, well, we were all happy to see Dexter Fowler leave. We've been trying to get rid of him forever. I know what, no qualms. Now, Colton Wong, on the other hand, obviously he was a steady player. I don't think he ever quite reached the potential that they thought he was going to reach. Like when he was coming up, everyone talked about how he was like the stud second baseman, and he never quite got there. But yeah, he was steady, and he did have a good glove, and I would have liked to seen the Cardinals re-sign him and kept him there, but unfortunately he moved on. And Tommy Edmonds is not as proven as Colton Wong was, and so like you said, it is a little bit of a step back in that direction. Absolutely. But But
Yep.
yeah, you had that
Randy
that
Moss?
other list of all those players, and half of them I didn't even know played for the Cardinals last year. Is that bad?
Well, they used 450 players trying to get through COVID, so
I know.
No doubt. Well, Andrew, why don't you run down what the 2021 lineup is going to look like?
Okay. I got that right here. Okay. Tommy Edman at second base, Paul DeYoung at shortstop, Paul Goldschmidt at first base, Nolan Arenado at third base. Then the outfield gets a little murkier because Harrison Bader's hurt. So he's a great outfield. I love to watch him play. He can't hit the ball for nothing. So right now, from what I understand, is that Dylan Carlson's going to be in center field. Tyler O'Neill's going to be in right field, and left field's going to be whichever AAA player they decide to call up. There's a guy named Justin Williams, Austin Dean will probably fill in over there, and those guys are for the most part unproven players. And the outfield is going to be a little rough if Carlson doesn't. He's supposed to be the number one prospect for the Cardinals, and he needs to start showing it, or that outfield is going to hurt really bad. It's going to be a rough year in the outfield.
I've got an idea for the Cardinals that me and DJ talk about all the time. Cardinals need Yasiel Puig. It solves all the problems.
Yep.
I'm telling you, we can't figure out why he's not in the league. It's like a head scratcher. Yasiel Puig, this is the perfect place for him to go to be a contender. They need him. They need Yasiel Puig. But, DJ, what do you think about that lineup?
I love it, except for the outfield. The outfield, that's really where you have I have a big problem with this. I mean, how can you not love Goldschmidt, Arenado, and DeYoung, to be honest with you? I'm not a big fan of Tommy Edman either. Yachty's on the down part of his career, obviously. So I love about 4 or 5 of their guys, and the rest of it is very bad, to say the least. So this is the problem I have with the Cardinals team this year. Little shout out to Paul DeYoung. David, yet another Chicago area product. This kid's from Antioch High School. In 2011, his senior year, he batted .430 with 30 RBIs. His team was 21-10. Did not win any regionals the four years that he was there, David, which I tell you again is crazy that these guys have so many pros on their teams and can't win in this state. Just shows you how dominant it is. Went to Illinois State and played as well as a walk-on. He just walked on to Illinois State, which is crazy. Illinois State is by far not a powerhouse in baseball. He had to walk on there and ended up being a good player for them, and then got drafted and went and played professional baseball. So good on him for making it all the way to the show when nobody really believed in him. So pretty cool on that. But yeah, I mean, I do love it because when you got Goldschmidt and Arenado hitting in that lineup, then you can score some runs, no doubt. But as far as a full extent of the 8-man, that's where it gets a little dicey, no doubt.
So Andrew, pitching was a strength of the team last year, and I know there's been some injuries already in spring training to their rotation, but why don't you tell us how that rotation is shaping up?
Okay, that's actually what I had to kind of look up because I knew we had some injuries. Jack Flaherty is going to be at the top. He's got to show himself to be the pitcher he can be and pitch all season long. Wainwright's number 2 guy. He looked tough. He looked really good spring training. He looked good last year. Yeah, he may be. Is he 40? He's hitting 40. Yeah. He's a little older than me, and I'm 38. So,
young buck.
I'm young, but he's old. So we'll talk about that one. Carlos Martinez. He's the guy that he's so bombastic. He's so dominant one day and then just off the charts the next with home runs. And if he would settle down and be the pitcher he could be, I mean, that could be a really tough 1, 2, 3 for any team to have to face. Then after that, because we've had injuries to Kwang Yun Kim, I think that's how you say his name. And then Miles Michaelis is probably out for almost quite a bit of the year. We have John Gant, which has had a really good season last year overall. I keep thinking of Ron Gant every time I see John Gant name. It's like I want to say Ron Gant when I see that.
Nice.
Old school there. And then Daniel Ponce de Leon. He's shown a lot of promise. We'll just have to see how this works out as they're young and really yet unproven in a lot of ways.
Well, maybe he'll find the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a dad joke, man. I couldn't help it. I can't
Ponce de Leon. I got you. Okay. It took me a minute. I got it.
DJ, what do you think about this rotation? Like Andrew just said, Michaelis out. Going to be a while. Kim out. We don't know how long. Kim was dominant last year, super dominant. And then Dakota Hudson out with Tommy John surgery, who was also pretty dominant last year. So what do you think about this rotation?
I do not like it at all. I am not a fan. Jack Flaherty, to be honest with you, has ace stuff, but I'm not sure he's got ace in the head up there. Upstairs, something's wrong. I'm not too sure about it. I see him and Arenado getting a lot of fights with Rizzo, so we'll see how that works out this year. I think that's going to happen. There's going to be some steam contests this year, no doubt, when you bring a fireballer over like Arenado. So I look forward to many, many battles in this series between these teams. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll take Rizzo in a cage match over Arenado any day. So
DJ,
we'll hopefully see that.
I got to stop you right there real quick. Did you watch any MLB Network today?
I did not see anything, no.
They're saying Rizzo's going to be a Yank by July 31, and it makes all of my dreams come true. All of my dreams will come true if that happens. Voigt's already out, and they're saying that the Cubs offered Rizzo a terrible offer for his contract extension, and the only solution is to trade him. And the Yankees have an opening. Please make my dreams come true. Hit 40 bombs in Yankee Stadium. It would be the best day of my life. But back to Cardinals. I'm not a fan of this rotation either, to be honest with you. With Kim being out, I mean, the depth is gone. Now, having said that, I really, really, really like John Gant. I think that could turn this around pretty quickly. They also have a prospect we're going to talk about here later that's fairly close that could help them as well. So,
okay,
rough rotation, but they have a good bullpen. They have most of their bullpen back, and it was pretty stout last year. So, we'll see how that works out. I think the bullpen's more important than it's ever been. So maybe that can boost that rotation up. So Andrew, give us some position battles we should watch out for with the Cardinals.
Well, whoever plays best at AAA can play outfield, right? That's the way I was looking at it. I was like looking through here. There we go. Okay. Obviously, the lower two spots in the 5-man rotation. If someone's not doing well, they'll call someone up in a heartbeat, because we do have some young pitchers down there that can come up and pitch a game, when we have to. So, and I think it's you may have been talking about Liberatore.
Yep.
I don't know if that's who you're talking about. Yeah, I know he's like the number 2 or number 3 prospect. So I can see that happening. Then outfielders, we do have some outfielders out in AAA that could come up and play ball if these guys don't put it together. So, but otherwise, I think everything's pretty much set
right
outside of those two things.
I picked the rotation as well. Last I looked, Carlos Martinez had gotten bombed all spring as well.
He had a good game the other day, but I don't know, probably was a fluke. Sorry, I don't think highly of him as of late.
It's crazy because when he came up, man, he was kind of the man. And if I'm not mistaken, did he have an injury or something? I don't remember exactly what sent him the other direction. I think he was in the bullpen for a minute, if I remember right. Maybe he was the closer. But I know there in the beginning he was a hot item. But I'm with you. Those last couple spots in the rotation, especially now with Michaelis and all those other guys out, it's going to be interesting to see who they choose. DJ, what did you have for a position battle?
Well, you guys already mentioned all the other ones, so I'll go with the second base battle a little bit here between, Tommy Edman's not proven by any means. And when you got a guy like Matt Carpenter on the bench, I know he doesn't want to come off the bench. He wants to start. So I don't know if Carpenter's got anything left in the tank, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with him if Edmund struggles early, and then they got to go to the grizzly little veteran there. So, man, there's a ton of little question marks and battles going on this team, no doubt. So I just wanted to go with that one since you guys already mentioned the rotation in the outfield. Those are the obvious two. So I'll go with that one.
Hey, it's a good point. Matt Carpenter's been a great bat in the past. I know last year was rough, but nobody likes to sit on the bench, so it'll be interesting to see if he can overtake Edmund. Mm-hmm. Andrew, what prospects should we watch out for this year?
Well, I wrote out, let me see, who did I picked out one player in particular that, prospects that will actually make it up this year. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. You want to talk about?
Well, I wrote down one guy, like I went through, we have a catcher named Ivan Herrera. He's in spring. He'll probably start the season in Springfield, but that guy has tore up every single level he's been playing on. And he tore up Class A Peoria when he was only 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he's Dominican from the Dominican Republic. He's from Venezuela, but he was playing in the Dominican Summer League. His hitting is much better than his catching, but they're working on it, is what I understand. He was actually considered possibly making the actual roster this year, had a bad spring training. He's going to start off in Double-A Springfield, but he was on the 40-man roster at the end of spring training. So he's a player that I looked at and I really liked him. That we have a guy named John Nagowski. He's a first baseman. But the problem is we got Paul Goldschmidt there, so I'm not really going to work there. But he had a great spring training, and he looks really good. So those are two guys I wrote down as immediate helpers. Of course, there's Libertor, but I think you were going to talk about him. So,
the Cardinals are going to have an opening pretty soon. Yachty can't catch forever. Mm-hmm. And DJ, let's just park right there for just 1 second. You want to watch DJ go insane, Andrew? I'm about ready to make him go insane.
I know he doesn't like Yachty or Molina.
No, and Yachty gets a lot of Hall of Fame love. And I hate to say it, I don't want to agree with DJ, but I don't get it. So can someone please explain to me why Yachty Molina is mentioned as a Hall of Famer? I don't get it.
Well, I don't know. I don't vote for Hall of Fame, and I don't consider him like one of the top-notch players overall when you're talking like all-around players. He doesn't have the bat like a Johnny Bench or, like a Duke Snyder, some of those guys in the past that, that played. But he's been consistent for almost 20 years.
20 years, DJ, that's better than 10.
He's about the same age I am. And he's won 2 World Series rings. He's been on a lot of all-star teams. I don't have the numbers for you. His hitting has come along better than it was in the beginning at the end. And he works really well with pitchers. And I would take him as my catcher, especially 5 or 6 years ago. I would have took him as my catcher any day. He has slowed down. He is getting older. So, he is, I guess, about 38 years old. We're about the same age. So, Hall of Fame. Sometimes you make the Hall of Fame because you're famous and people like it, not necessarily because you were the best.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here with DJ. DJ, convince me that Yachty Molina hasn't been the best catcher in the last 15 years.
Are you talking defense or offense?
Just all-around catcher.
I mean, if you're talking defense, I'm up there with you, but he can't hit the ball. I mean, you got guys like Joe Mauer and Buster Posey who I take their hitting.
Joe Mauer and Buster Posey were first basemen within 10 years of being in the league. So, no, you're not going there. Give me something else.
They didn't play first base. They kind of filled in here and there. They caught a majority of the games. Joe Mauer caught almost his entire career, and then towards the end there, he went to first. Yeah, he totally did.
Guys, that's what we call fake news. Facebook is going to remove what DJ just said. Total fabrication.
Well, let me tell you what all these baseball experts are saying about Yadi Molina's case. They're all bringing in the defense, saying he's their greatest defensive catcher of this era. And so since he can hit a little bit too, you should combine the both and make him a Hall of Famer. And if we're going by position, you put the best catchers of every era in, then you probably have to consider him. If you're going best catchers of all time, he gets there eventually. I'm not sure when, but I just don't see it offensively. I have the problem with the offense. I really do. I do not have the problem with the defense. I think he's outstanding defensively. But you got to convince me a little bit more about his hitting. I just don't know if it's quite there yet.
So I do believe he'll get in. I'm not for it at all. Only 40 WAR in 17 years. And if you're that great defensively, you would have more than that. That's what I'll say about that. So I'm against it personally. But you do have a tough time. If you really, think through it, you really have a tough time naming very many better catchers the last 15 years than Yadi Molina. And that's the problem. I think when you start having a Hall of Fame talk, it's kind of hard to get around him. So, but I think he will get in again, really because what Andrew said, he's famous, he's popular. A lot of people really like him and respect him. So I do believe he'll get in.
Here in St. Louis, he's been the most loved Cardinal probably since Ozzie Smith, and we know what DJ thinks about Ozzie Smith too. So. And I think they respect the fact that he has played so long for us. A lot of players would have walked, went elsewhere free agency, and he has stayed all these years.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the prospect I want to talk about, guys, is Matthew Liberatore. Came over in the Randy Arozarena deal with Tampa Bay. Now that deal's not looking so great. Arozarena was the man in the playoffs. We'll see how that pans out. I don't know if maybe the Cardinals just kind of fell out of love with him. And maybe, Andrew, if you know anything about that, just feel free to chime in here. But if there's one thing, it's outfield.
Well, at one time, there was a clogged outfield. We had a clogged outfield. We had a lot of players that were coming up, and so they eliminated a few of them, and they made some bad decisions on that. And we've been left with what we've got because of that. I think they thought Marcell Ozuna was going to resign and stay for a long time. Oscar Taveras died in a car accident. He was supposed to be the future outfielder for the Cardinals, and I think they were unclogging it, and that's the reason why they were willing to give him up.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'd forgotten about Taveras. Unfortunately, I do remember that he was a big prospect for them, so that's very unfortunate for that to happen. And obviously, Ozuna leaving, he leaves and then becomes. I mean, honestly, you can make a really good case he was the MVP. I mean, his hitting stats were actually better than Freddie Freeman's last year. So you could definitely make that case. But Liberatore is a stud. He was first round pick back in 2018, the number 16 pick. 95 to 96 on his fastball with a plus curveball and a changeup. It's a work in progress. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. They're saying he has frontline rotation stuff, and so if he does, maybe you forget about this Arozarena deal pretty quickly. Arozarena, what people don't remember is he was above average until the playoffs, and in the playoffs he turned into the man. So we'll see. Honestly, his fantasy projections aren't that great. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that when we had our draft the other night. I mean, they're projecting him for like 20 or 25 homers, which isn't anything to sneeze at, but it's not the 40 or 50 that you would think he would hit based on the playoffs. So, we'll see what becomes of that. So, but Liberatore looks like he could be, the heir apparent. Him and Flaherty in that rotation would look pretty good in the future. So we'll see what happens. They're saying, like I said, ETA 2022. So this is always a fun topic to talk about. I can't wait to hear what DJ is going to say, but I'm going to go to you first, Andrew. What's your favorite Cardinals memory?
Oh, my favorite Cardinals memory. I was trying to remember what year it was. This was a personal memory. It was either 88 or 89. I went to my first Cardinal game in Old Busch Stadium. Nice. Nosebleed section. I mean, we were so high. If we would have fell, we would have died. I mean, it was so high. But what I remember about that game was it went to 12 innings, and my mom was about to lose her mind from from being there so long at that game. And in the bottom of the 12th, Vince Coleman hit a home run to win the game.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a memory. I was trying to look up this game on the internet, and I was having a hard time finding it. But it's just a memory I've had, for all my life, because it's the first game I ever went to. I was probably 6.
Wow.
And I have that memory of that game. Now, on the other hand, most famous memory, David Freese's home run, 2011, took us to Game 7. I still get chills when I watch the replay of that.
Yeah,
every single time. My wife probably thought I lost my mind in the living room that night. So, yeah, that was a great night, and we need to do that again sometime.
That's an awesome memory. I remember that as well, man. I've always been a David Freese fan. I'm not even sure if he's still in baseball anymore.
I don't think he is anymore.
Dude's a winner, man. He's just a winner. And I always wished back in those days that the Yankees would have got him. Just always really liked him. So those are 2 great memories, Andrew. DJ, let's hear what you got, buddy.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. I'm just going to stick daggers into your heart, Andrew.
Does it have anything to do with this guy?
Oh, that guy. Yuck. So the Ryan Sandberg game versus Bruce Sutter, just lighting him up for 3 home runs against one of, if not the greatest closer of all time. I loved going to Old Busch Stadium. I loved going to New Busch Stadium. I made some memories there cheering against the Cardinals. Hendricks' 81 pitch shutout against the Cardinals in 2019 was a big memory for me. The Cubs knocking the Cardinals out in 2015, 3-1 in the NLDS, and the only matchup in the playoffs between the 2 teams in history, which is crazy to think. We have won that one as well. The fact that we are 1,244 wins against the Cardinals versus 1,186 losses, so we own the all-time winning against them all-time lead in there, so I had to throw that in there as well. And then, of course, Sammy Sosa beating out Mark McGwire for the MVP in 1998. So all those things prove that the Cubs are better than the Cardinals and have produced many great memories over the years for me.
With his cork bat, right?
Yeah. With McGuire's, his androstenedione, it wasn't steroids.
Okay.
Wow. Well, anyway, my favorite memory of the Cardinals has to be that 1998 season. It's actually my favorite memory of the Cubs too, because it's the only time I ever actually watched them. No, I'm just kidding. That year was so magical. It was just can't miss TV. So I loved watching McGwire. He was just fun to watch hit anyway, hitting those lasers. And I always think about McGwire too in Home Run Derby. I don't know if it was that year. What year was that, DJ, when he was owning Home Run Derby? Was it that year?
It might have been, or 96, one of the two. 96 is popping in my head for some reason.
Yeah. I just McGwire was so much fun to watch. Should totally be in the Hall of Fame. So as should Sosa. Just man, what an amazing season. Something that will probably never be repeated, obviously, for obvious reasons. But those were my favorite Cardinals memories. Honestly, here we don't get a lot of Cardinals games, and so it's just not a team I paid a lot of attention to. I remember, watching Willie McGee and Ozzie Smith back in the day when we were coming up, and you'd get their cards and stuff. And Ozzie Smith's backflip, that was pretty cool. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot of memories of the Cardinals. So you guys have both mentioned the stadiums. So DJ, why don't you start us off? Tell us about the stadiums in our lifetime for the Cardinals.
Busch Stadium 2, as they call it. There's 3 different Busch Stadiums. The second one was in our lifetime from 1966 to 2005. I did go to that one. Went with my dad and a couple buddies before it closed. Not really my favorite field, to be honest with you. I like the newest one the best. I really do. I like number 3 a lot. So Busch Stadium number 3 is 2006 to present. I have also been to that one as well. I like that one a lot. I went and watched the Dodgers play on a Sunday night. There's a lot of things to do in St. Louis that we did before. Went to the Arch, kind of seen that, and then came over to the field. It was literally, Andrew, and I'm sure you know this living right there in Missouri, it was 110 degrees on the field that night. It was a Sunday night game. The sun was blazing. We were sitting in the bleachers just getting fried, and I kid you not, I probably bought about 10 pops for everybody before I found out that they're
10 what?
10 pops.
10 pops. Oh, okay.
Before I found out there was a water fountain that I could just put the cup underneath and get a bunch of water. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I was wasting all that money, and then I finally found a water fountain and probably took down like 6 glasses of water. It was unbelievable how hot it was there. Those guys are notorious for having 110 degrees on that field all the time. But I really liked it. It was great. A lot of fun. They got a nice, like around that ballpark is really cool, man. They got all kinds of stuff to do there. They got a museum. They got all kinds of cool things there. So I was a big fan of it. I had a really good time. Of course, I was wearing Dodgers gear there, and didn't get shot or anything. The Cardinals fans are pretty cool, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. I've been there for sure, and I liked it a lot. So it was a good one.
All right, Andrew, anything you got to add about those two stadiums?
Oh, Old Bish. That stadium got so hot you'd probably melt a baseball in that place. It was very, one of those cookie cutter stadiums that was meant for football and baseball, and neither one of them really worked out that well. I went to a lot of games there growing up. I remember seeing the Marlins play there against the Cardinals. I saw the Giants play. I'm pretty sure I saw the Braves play a few times. I had a brother that was a trader and liked the Braves because you could watch them on TBS. And I enjoyed going. So I remember sitting in the outfield quite a bit. I remember one time, I don't know, we managed to finagle our way up behind the bullpen or the dugout somehow. And Jason Isringhausen is very tall. He looked 9 foot out there. I remember that was hot that day too. I remember it was just, I always enjoyed going to the stadium, but it was very hot. Now I like the new stadium. It lets a lot of air in and it just, it blows around, and we almost always sit up by the first baseline right up there. We're first baseline and right field kind of meet. It's where we almost always sit, and seen some good memories there. I did have a losing streak going there for a while, and I almost felt like I shouldn't even go because they lost almost every time I went. But anyway, it's, I love to take my family. My family likes to go, and I remember one of the first times I took, in the first inning, Matt Holliday hit a home run. Those fireworks went off, and my oldest daughter just wanted to leave the whole game. She was so scared to death those fireworks that it's a lot of fun to go, and a lot of good memories. I didn't go last year. Obviously, no one went to a game last year. And I don't know, the tickets are so high because they're limiting how many people can go. I don't even know if I'm going to get in. I haven't even looked.
You need to talk to Reagan about, we talked about this last year, I think a little bit. So apparently if you're clergy and within so many miles of the stadium, you can get, I don't know if it's season passes, free tickets, whatever it is, but I actually talked to Reagan about that. So I don't know, maybe you're not close enough or whatever. I don't know.
I'll tell him that Dave Swor said to talk to him about it. Yeah, so I will. Really? I don't like to search out free stuff for pastors. So, it's not something I do.
You just need to take one for the team right now.
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. But, yeah, it's a great ballpark, and I like how they built it up all around it. There's the seats that are across the road that you can get in. Did you know they had seats across the road that you can sit in and watch the game?
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that was in Ballpark Village, which is across the street where the old ballpark used to be. At the very top, they've got seats up there, and you can watch the ballpark up there. I don't know. I guess it's an okay view, but a lot of people do it. You can rent it out, have parties and different things up there. And St. Louis is always a good place to go. It's a good place to visit. And we've taken several short trips, and they got a great zoo. A lot of good things to do in St. Louis.
Yeah, that is a good zoo. We went there as well. I agree with that 100%. Very good point.
Again, talking to my buddy Reagan, I believe that zoo is free if I'm not mistaken.
It is, unless you want to ride the train or the carousel.
That's where they
start charging it. Yes,
yeah.
They do.
I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, it's trivia time. I've got a couple softballs for you guys. So my first question, in 1998, one of the greatest seasons ever, should have been Hall of Famer Mark McGwire broke Roger Maris's record. What team and what pitcher was that against?
Chicago Cubs, Steve Traxel.
Oh, man, I knew that too.
DJ, did that hurt your feelings when that happened? Be honest.
No, honestly, it didn't. I was kind of caught up in it too. I really was. Like, I mean, before I knew they were juicing, I was loving this a lot more, to be honest with you. And I was into it. I really was. And it was kind of cool that he did it against the Cubs, just being honest with you. And it was cool that they were all shaking his hand and just giving him high fives. And
Sosa was
awesome.
a very gracious second place. I'm not going to say loser because that's definitely not true.
No,
a very gracious second place.
Yeah.
So
it was awesome. It was cool to see them go back and forth, and two totally different human beings going at it like that. Just really cool for baseball. It was awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna try to stay positive about the whole thing. Like it totally changed baseball. It was an awesome summer. I just look at it from the positive. Yeah, that was amazing. It really was.
I'll tell you another great Sammy Sosa moment, not that we're talking about the Cubs, but after 9/11, the whole flag out to the outfield, super, super cool. Sammy seems to be, a pretty nice guy, to be honest. Yep. And so anyway, I hate that a guy with over 600 homers is not in the Hall of Fame. It blows my mind. But second trivia question. I think you guys will get this one too. Bonus trivia question. So Ozzie Smith was not a Cardinal to begin with. He was actually traded from the Padres. Who went over to the Padres in that trade?
Gary Templeton.
Templeton. Very good. Very good. I thought those were pretty easy questions. I would have got both of those, but if you're on your toes, DJ.
I just had to beat Andrew to it. That's all. He probably would have got it too. I just wanted to beat him.
I knew that one. Yeah. Yeah. I have some old baseball cards. I may not have them anymore. I had Gary Templeton, and I remember looking on the back and seeing who he was traded for. It was written on the back. A long time ago.
Hey, if anybody in the baseball card world is listening to our podcast, why don't you do us all a favor and make baseball cards come back and make them affordable and something that people would actually collect. Don't make me pay, what is it, $8-10 for 8 cards or whatever. It's ridiculous. Bring it back like the old days. Stick me a moldy piece of gum in there and let me get a checklist to go through and mark all the guys and put them in those sheets. Those were the best days, man. My mom used to go to the store and come back with, an 89-cent pack of baseball cards. I couldn't wait to tear those things open.
Yep.
So bring back
my dad got a big deal on a bunch of 1989 Donruss cards. I think they were 89. They were red. Oh, yeah. And they had he had box after box. He had a store. He still has it, and he was selling them. I tell you what, I probably had 1,000 of those cards.
No doubt.
They weren't worth anything, but they were a whole lot of fun to have.
Hey, I got a cool baseball card story. I know we're getting off the rails here, but a buddy of mine that was my neighbor knew somebody that worked at Topps, and he actually brought back the sheet that they printed before they cut them.
That's cool.
Like a couple morons, we cut them. So they were all hacked up, man. It was super cool. I mean, who knew? But yeah, I had a sheet and he had a sheet. I don't even remember who was on it or anything like that. We hacked them up pretty bad, but it was a lot of fun. Bring back the baseball cards. Bring back the memories. So
I'm gonna give you a quick little story here too, because you talked about the gum. So 3 or 4 years ago, I kid you not, I went and just out of the blue bought a pack of 86 Topps, which I have the complete set. I don't even know why I did it. I think I did it because of the gum that was in there. So the gum was actually just sitting in there without a wrapper around it.
Yeah.
Pink gum inside of there. Yeah. So I was dared to eat that piece of gum from 1986. So I opened this pack of cards and I'm like, I got all these cards. Just get them out of the way. Give me the gum. So I take the gum and I kid you not, I put it in my mouth and it was gone. It totally disintegrated.
It does.
It dissolved. It was like nothing ever happened. I was like, oh, like what? Am I gonna die? Like I was wondering if I was gonna need CPR or I was gonna die or just I thought it was over for me.
They were crunchy to begin with. They were kind of weird texture anyway. So I can imagine them being 30 years old and trying to eat one, or 40 years old and trying to eat one. Wow.
That's so bad.
Crazy. All right, DJ, you got some trivia?
Yep. Who was the player that was injured when the automatic tarp rolled over his leg at Busch Stadium in Game 4 of the NLCS?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Vince Coleman.
Yep.
Vince Coleman.
It probably cost him a World Series.
Yeah.
Very well. They lost in Game 7 with no Vince Coleman.
Mm-hmm. He was back in the middle 80s, Vince Coleman was one of the best players in ball. He was good. He could hit. He could run. He was a good ball player.
He definitely was. He definitely was. So, Andrew, do you have any trivia for us?
I do. Let me see. A certain Cardinal player on April 23rd, 1999, did something that has never happened again.
Oh, okay. Has never happened since?
Never happened since. It's never happened before. I know that's being very vague, isn't it?
I'm going to go with Mark Whitten hitting 4 bombs in the game.
No, that's not who I got.
Oh, man.
This guy's son is playing baseball in Major League Baseball now.
Ooh, Tatis hit 2 grand slams in an inning.
Yes, off who?
Off of who? Ooh.
Give me a team.
Los Angeles Dodgers.
Chanho Park.
Chanho Park. He hit 2 grand slams in the same inning off the same pitcher. It's never happened again. He had 8 runs batted in an inning.
Wow. That's sick, man. That's sick.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Hey, I was listening to that game on the radio in the middle of nowhere, and I just sat there and listened to that whole inning. I didn't think it was ever going to get over. That was awesome.
Hey, I saw Mark Whitten throw a baseball out of Yankee Stadium. Just my one time going to Yankee Stadium. Mark Whitten was a 4th or 5th outfielder for the Yankees. It was batting practice, and there was somebody up there, waving for the ball, and Mark Whitten launched it out of the stadium. Pretty sweet. Super impressive.
Yeah, he was a big old ball player. I love watching him hit. He was good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, boys. It's prediction time. So, Andrew, I'm going to start with you. Where do you think the 2021 Cardinals are going to end up?
Come on, Andrew. What do you think, buddy?
Well, I'm gonna predict them winning the Central Division.
Oh,
okay? I am. I think they're going to have a good season. I think they're going to win the division, not necessarily because they're as good as like the Dodgers or the Braves by any means, but because the rest of the division is just not that great.
Interesting. And we know that certain players on another team are going to be playing elsewhere. That's going to really help them. DJ, what do you think? Where are they going to end up?
Well, we did the Cubs podcast, so I've already given away that they're going to win the Central. I mean, there's too many holes in this Cardinals lineup and a starting rotation. I just don't get it. Like, they're getting all the love right now in the preseason just because they got Arenado. Like, I get it. You got the superstar. But you got 4 or 5 holes in your lineup. You got 4 or 5 holes in your starting rotation. How does a team with that much problems win the division? I don't get it. I'll get it. I'll give you this. You got the second or maybe the best bullpen in the division. I'll give you that. That bullpen is sweet. I'd love to have that bullpen. There's no doubt about it. I think it's by far their strength. But other than that, man, you're relying on a 39-year-old pitcher. You're relying on a guy that's a head case to be your ace. You got 3, 4, and 5 are big question marks. You got 4 holes in that lineup, maybe 5. I don't get it. I'm giving them second place by default because I think the Brewers are terrible. And I think the Reds took a huge step back. So I'm going second place, but I'll tell you this, Andrew, and I'm a little worried as a Cubs fan. Now that they got Arenado and Goldschmidt and a couple other guys here, I feel like, with Dylan Carlson coming up, he's going to get better. They're going to start to piece this together a little bit better, and they're going to start building off of this now. I really believe that. So I think their future's bright. I really do, and I hate saying that, but I think that they're going to get there eventually, just not this year. And one more thing I wanted to mention, too, before we're pretty much done here. If you guys get a chance, look up Daniel Ponce de Leon. He has a new book that just came out. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but back when he was pitching a few years ago, he took a shot up the middle that hit him in the head, and he almost died from it. He laid there. It was brutal. If you've ever seen that clip, it's just brutal. Thank God he's still alive. But on the topic of God, he gives a shout out to God in that book a lot about a lot of things that changed in his life. It's a really cool book from everything that I've seen. I'm not exactly sure how he believes or what he believes in, but it's something I wanted to check out and see, if he's a believer in Christ and everything, which it kind of sounds like he's going along that path with this book. So give it a shout out. The name of the book is One Line Drive, I believe. One Line Drive, about the ball that nearly killed him. And I think it has a big time Christian perspective on there. So give that a shout out for sure. To all you Cardinals fans out there, give it a look. But yeah, I'm going to go second place with these guys. That's my final prediction.
All right. So this was a real struggle for me. I am going to say that they end up in 4th place. I think the Reds are going to pass them. I obviously think the Brewers are going to pass them, and the Cubs. It's just too many holes. I just don't get it. I'm a little bit like DJ, the rotation. I definitely think they have the fourth best rotation, and like DJ said, they may have the best bullpen. And then when you start comparing the lineups to the other teams, you know what I mean? The Brewers made some big improvements. Of course, they got Colton Wong. The Reds still have those guys left over from last year who kind of underperformed, and I don't think that's going to happen again. They got Suarez and Castellanos and Moustakas. So I just don't think they're as good. So barring some trades or something like that, I'm going to put them in 4th place. It kind of hurts my feelings to say that a little bit. But I'm like DJ, it's just too many holes. So we'll see. So it looks like we all three have the Central Division stacking up a lot different. So that might be one we get a fight over later. I don't know. But all right, guys. Well, DJ, teammates that were Cardinals fans. Do we have any besides Andrew? He's it.
Just the man that's joining us. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Dusty's a little bit of a Cardinals fan. He mentioned that in our podcast. He's kind of more of a Royals fan. He says he leans there, but he follows the Cardinals pretty tight too. So we'll give him a little love there on that too, I guess. But it's mainly
we went to a
Andrew.
Cardinal game together one time. Me and Dusty did.
That's awesome.
It was 2004, and we saw Barry Bonds walk into the stadium.
Nice.
I remember that we were looking down at him. You know, he walks into the stadium. That's it's a memory I got. I guess they were playing the Giants that day, but I don't really remember much about the game. I think it rained, but you know.
I got you. DJ, I want to give you 30 seconds to talk about this guy. Listen, he should be in the Hall of Fame. 60 WAR, 393 homers, 2,000 hits. Tell me why Jim Edmonds should not be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, those stats would put about 100 more players into the Hall of Fame if you're going off of those offensive stats. So let's start there. And then let's go with the second fact, since I've only got 20 seconds left and 15 now, that he was playing so shallow that when balls were hit over his head, he made them look way more routine than they really needed
one
to
of
be.
the greatest catches ever is the over-the-shoulder dive. Amazing catch. Don't you agree, Andrew?
It was a good one. I liked it.
It was
it was great.
You know where Reed Johnson would have caught that ball? Like this. Because he would have been playing like a normal center fielder and would have caught that ball as routine as it could be because Jim Edmonds liked to showboat.
Whatever. All right, guys. We better wrap it up.
When you guys talk about the Hall of Fame, if I could say one thing, when I think of the Hall of Fame, I don't just think of stats. I mean, these are players you remember, not just because that they were really good ball players, but they were over the top in a lot of ways. They were steady throughout their whole careers. So, and so, I mean, a lot of players, people don't remember Jim Edmonds as much as they remember like some of these guys that were top of the line, the greatest players ever. So anyway,
I agree.
I don't get to vote for that anyway.
The greatest players should be in the Hall of Fame. And just tell the story as it is. Just tell the truth. There's no point in hiding it. All the greatest players need to be in the Hall of Fame. I totally agree. I'm glad that you agree with me and not DJ and his dumb view of the Hall of Fame. All right, guys, we better wrap it up. It's good to see you, Andrew. As always, it's been, I guess, about a year. And so it was great playing ball with you there for a couple years at Temple, and good to see that you're doing well there through church and everything. So we appreciate you coming on. DJ, I guess tomorrow it's baseball eve, and we're going to be talking some baseball with former Temple catcher Brian Howard. We're going to talk about the Dodgers, so I'm looking forward to that. If you don't care, please like and subscribe to our podcast. We really appreciate it, and you guys have a great night.
Night, everybody.
Good night.